Hare Krishna. Yes. So this morning we are going to read from Brahma Samhita. Text 1. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinite ray aspect, the wall of that leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. The whole of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It's an hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling, predominated and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with sixfold divisions. The whole of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. Its petals are the abode of the gopis, who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are garden-like dham, that is the spiritual abode of Sri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Shvetadvip surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shvetadvip is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudev, Shankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by 4-fold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion and liberation, and also by 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yajur and Atharva, which deal with mantra and which are the basis of achievement of the 4-fold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda and Neela. There are 10 protectors, Dikpala, of 10 directions in the form of mantra. The associates of the hue of blue, yellow, red and white and the extraordinary potency bearing the names of Vimala, etc. shine on all sides. The Lord of Gokula is transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the enjoyer of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the Absolute. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastime, in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency, Rama, by casting his glance at the deluding energy in the shape of sending his time energy, is an auxiliary activity. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Ramadevi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation, there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. The masculine symbol is the subjective portion of divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to the supreme regulatrix Niyati. The conceiving potency in regard to the mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute, apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. All the offsprings of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwara of this mundane world are of the nature of embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying the material causal principle, namely the great Lord of the mundane world, Maheshwara Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ is joined, 10th verse, Prabhu. Person embodying the material causal principle, namely the great lord of the mundane world, Maheshwara, Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy Maya, as the efficient causal principle. The Lord of Mahavishnu is manifested in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance.
The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, hands. He is the source of thousands of avataras in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The same Mahavishnu is spoken of by the name of Narayana in this mundane world. From that eternal person has sprung the vast expanse of water of spiritual causal ocean. The subjective portion of Sankarsana, who abides in Paravyama, the above Supreme Purusha, with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep, Yoga Nidra, in the waters of the spiritual causal ocean. The spiritual seeds of Sankarsana existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered with 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul Mahavishnu possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma the first progenitor of beings from his right limb, and from the space between his 2 eyebrows, Shambhu the divine masculine manifested halo.
16th to 20th, the English translations.
The function of Shambhu in relation to Jivas is that this universe entering the mundane egoistic principle has originated from Shambhu. Thereupon, the same great personal Godhead, assuming the threefold form of Vishnu, Prajapati and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, creation and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world. Hence it is being perverted. The Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the goddess Yoga Nidra, the constituent of his own spiritual Chit potency, full of the ecstatic trance of eternal bliss, appertaining to his own divine personality. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus with its stem is the abode of Brahma, representing Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements in their nascent state remained originally separate entities. Non-application of the conglomerating process is the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual Chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle, created those different entities in their state of cooperation. And after that, he himself consorted with Yoga Nidra by way of his eternal dalliance with his spiritual Chit potency. By conglomerating all those separate entities, he manifested the innumerable mundane universes, and he himself entered into the inmost recess of every extended conglomerate, Virat Vigraha. At that time, those jivas who had lain dormant during the cataclysm were awakened.
The same jiva is eternal and is for eternity and without a beginning joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. He is transcendental spiritual potency. The divine lotus, which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu, is in every way related by spiritual tie with all souls and is the origin of 4-faced Brahma versed in the 4 Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions. But he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. The goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all direction: O Brahma, this mantra, namely Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopi Janavallabhaya Swaha, will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, then all your desires will be fulfilled.
Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts for Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Svetadvipa, for a long time. His meditation ran thus: there exists a divine lotus of 1,000 petals, augmented by millions of filaments, in the transcendental land of Goloka. On its wall there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of eternal effulgence of transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute resonant with his divine sound. With his lotus mouth, he is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, that is imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus-born Brahma, having received the Gayatri, sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of the twice-born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, and with a figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who also reveals in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamsundara is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra shuktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extension of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in the heart of their hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who has manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in this world, and different avatars in the world, in the forms of Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of the glories of the mundane universe, appears as indivisible, infinite, limitless truth.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of the support of all existence, whose external potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, namely sattva, rajas, and tamas, and diffuses the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as the transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all is located Devi Dhama, mundane world. Next above it is Mahesh Dhama, abode of Mahesha. Above Mahesh Dhama is placed Hari Dhama, abode of Hari. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted the respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither same as nor different from its cause, namely milk, I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction.
The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Sesha, replete with all accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, Yoga Nidra. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the latter, Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all the effulgent gems that bear the names of Suryakanta, etc. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesha upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds.
The three worlds, which are composed of 9 elements, namely fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist, of all virtues, all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of the work, in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa, than in that of Indra, the king of the Devas. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him, under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to the bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation.
I worship that transcendental seat known as Svetadvipa, where as loving consorts, the Lakshmis, in their unalloyed spiritual essence, practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord Krishna as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soil is the purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, and every gate is a dance. The flute is a favorite attendant. Effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty. Where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka, only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. On hearing these hymns containing the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this sign set forth in the following 5 slokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by means of cognition and service, bhakti, super excellent unalloyed devotion characterized by love for Godhead is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls.
The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization, with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. These preliminary practices of devotion, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion. Loving devotion, then, whom there is no superior well-being, who goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of the supreme bliss, and who can lead to myself. Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. Their realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me, by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of the supreme service. Listen, O Vidhi, I am the seed. That is the fundamental principle of this world of animate and inanimate objects. I am Pradhan, the substance of matter. I am Prakriti, material cause, and Purusha, efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs specially to the Brahman, that inheres in you, has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects.
Thank you very much. I welcome all of you this morning, and I'm grateful for getting a chance to serve you by coordinating this class. So the next thing will be we'll stand up and we'll recite the entire Brahma Samhita in front of the deities. So Srivasa Prabhu will be my guide and I'll do whatever he says. Okay, sounds good. Standing up is better, right? At least we can break.
Do you want to accept or
No, it's fine. And goes. Ishvara Paramah Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam Sahasrapatra Kamalam Gokulakhyam Mahatpadam Tatkarnikaram Tadhama Tadanantam Shasambhavam Karnikaram Mahadyantram Shatkonam Vajrakilakam Shadanga Shatpadisthanam Prakritya Purushena Cha Premananda Mahananda Rasena Vastitam Hiyat Jyotirupena Manuna Kama Bijena Sangatam Tadkinjalkam Tadamshanam Tatpatrani Shriyamapi Chatur Ashram Tatparitaha Shvetadvipakhyam Chatur Ashram Chatur Murtes Chatur Dhama Chatuskritam Chaturbhir Purushartaischa Chaturbhir Hetubhivratam Shulair Dashabir Anadham Urdvado Digvidikshvapi Ashtabir Nidibir Jushtam Ashtabhi Siddhibhistata Manurupaischa Dashabir Dikpalai Parito Vritam Amairgoraischa Raktaischa Shuklaischa Parshadarshabai Shobhitam Shaktibhistabhir Adbhutabhi Samantataha Evam Jyotirmayo Deva Sadananda Paratparaha Atma Ramasya Tasyasti Prakrityana Samagamaha Maya Ramamanasya Naviyogastaya Saha Atmanaramaya Reme Tyaktya Kalam Sisikshayaha Niyati Sarama Devi Tatpriya Tadvasham Tada Tallingam Bhagavan Shambhur Jyotirupah Sanatanaha Sayoni Yayoni Sapara Shaktis Kamo Bijam Mahaddare Lingayonyatmika Jata Ima Maheshwari Prajaha Shaktiman Purusha Soyam Lingarupi Maheshwaraha Tasmin Avirbhul Linge Mahavishnur Jagatpatihi Sahasrasirisha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sahasrabahur Vishwatma Sahasramsha Sahasrasu Narayanaha Sa Bhagavan Apastasmat Sanatanat Avirashit Kananano Nidhi Sankarshanatmakaha Yoga Nidram Gatastasmin Sahasramsha Swayam Mahan Tadroma Bila Jaleshu Bijam Shankarshanasya Cha Haimyandani Jatani Mahabhuta Vrutani Tu Pratyandam Evam Ekam Shad Vishati Swayam Sahasramurdha Vishwatma Mahavishnu Sanatanaha Vamanad Asrajat Vishnum Dashkinangat Prajapatim Utirlingamayam Shambhum Kurchadeshadavasrajat Ahankaratmakam Vishwam Tasmadetadvyajayata Atatraistrividhair Veshair Lila Udvahata Kila Yoga Nidra Bhagavati Tasya Shrir Iva Sangata Sisikshayam Tato Nabhes Tasya Padmam Vinirnayau Tannalam Hemanalinam Brahmano Lokamadbhutam Tatvani Purvarudhani Karanani Parasparam Samavaya Prayogacha Vibhinnani Pritak Pritak Chichaktya Sajjamanota Bhagavanadi Purushaha Yojayanmayaya Devo Yoga Nidrata Kalpayat Yojayitva Tutanyeva Praviveshastvayam Guham Guham Pravishte Tasminstu Jivatma Pratibudhyate Sanityo Nitya Sambandha Prakritischa Paraivasa Evam Sarvatma Sambandham Nabhyam Padmam Harerabhut Tatra Brahmadbhavad Bhuyas Chaturvedi Chaturmukha संजातो भगवच्चक्या तत्कालं किल चोदितः शिशिक्षायं मतिं चक्रे पूर्वसंस्कारसंस्कृतः ददर्शा केवलं ध्वान्तं नान्यत् किमपि सर्वतः वाचा पुरतस्तस्मै तस्य दिव्या सरस्वती कामकृष्णाय गोविन्द हे गोपीजन इत्यपि वल्लभाया प्रिया वाह्नेर्मन्त्रं ते दास्यति प्रियम् तप एतेन तव सिद्धिर्भविष्यति अता ते पाचसुचिरं प्रीण गोविन्दमव्ययम् श्वेतद्वीपापतिं कृष्णं गोलोकस्थं परात्परम् प्रकृत्या गुणरूपिण्या रूपिण्या पर्युपासितम् सहस्रदलसम्पन्ने कोटिकिञ्जल्कबृंहिते भूमिश्चिन्तामणिस्तत्र कर्णिकारे महासने समासीनां चिदानन्दं ज्योतिरूपा सनातनम् शब्दब्रह्मामयं वेणुं वादयन्तं मुखाम्बुजे विलासिनी गणवृतं स्वैरंशैरभिस्तुतम् अथा वेणुनिनादस्य त्रयीमूर्तिर्मयी गतिः स्फुरन्ति प्रविवेशाशु मुखाब्जानि स्वयंभुवः गायत्रीं गायतस्तस्माद् अधिगत्या सरोजजः संस्कृतश्चादिगुणोना द्विजिताम् अगमत्ततः त्रया प्रबुद्धोता विज्ञाता तत्त्वसागरा तुष्टाववेदसारेण श्रोतेनानेन केशवम् चिन्तामणि प्रकरसद्मशुकल्पवृक्षा लक्षाव्रतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तम् लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वेणुं क्वनन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षम् बर्हावतां स्ममसिताम्बुदसुन्दराङ्गम् कण्डर्पकोटिकमनीयविशेषशोभम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आलोलचन्द्रकलसद्वनमाल्यवंशी रत्नाङ्गदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासम् श्यामं त्रिभङ्गललितं नियताप्रकाशम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अङ्गानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमान्ते पश्यन्ति पान्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दचिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अद्वैतमच्युतमनादिमनन्तरूपम् आद्यं पुराणपुरुषं नवयौवनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमदुर्लभमात्मभक्तौ गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पन्तास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां स्योऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसिन्यविचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि एकोऽप्यसौ रचयितुं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्छक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डक्षयाय अण्डान्तरस्थपरमाणुक्षयान्तरस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यद्भावभावितधियो मनुजास्ततैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमासनयानभूषः सुप्तेर्यमेव निगमः प्रतितैस्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसप्रतिभाविताभिः ताभिर्ययेव निजरूपकलातयाभिः गोलोक एव निवसत्यखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। म्याञ्जनाचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेश किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमपुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्य प्रभा प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटिं कोटिस्वशेषवसुधादिविभूतिभिन्नं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदवितायमाना सत्त्वावलम्भि परसत्त्वविशुद्धसत्त्वं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। नन्दचिन्मयरसात्मतया मनःसु यः प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरतामुपेत्य लीलायितेन भुवनानि जयत्यजस्रं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोलोकनाम्नि निजदाम्नि तले च तस्या देवी महेशहरिधामसुतेषु तेषु ते प्रभावनिचया विहिताश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। सृष्टिस्थितिप्रलयसाधनशक्तिरेका छायेव यस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टते सा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। क्षीरं यथा दधिविकारविशेषयोगात् सञ्जायते न हि तथा पृथगस्ति हेतोः यः शम्भुतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्यात् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। दीपार्चिरेव हि दशान्तरमभ्युपेत्य दीपायते विवृतहेतुसमानधर्मा यस्ताग्र एव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योगा निद्रामनन्तजगदण्डसरोमकूपः आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्यैकनिश्वसितकालमथावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथः विष्णुर्महांस इह यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। स्वान् यथा स्म सकलेषु निजेषु तेजः स्वीयं कियत् प्रकटयत्यपि तद्वदत्र ब्रह्मा ययेष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यत्पादपल्लवयुगं विनिधाय कुम्भा द्वन्द्वे प्रणामसमये स गणाधिराजः विघ्नान् विहन्तुमलमस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। अग्निर्मही गगनमम्बुमरुद्दिशश्च कालस्तथात्ममनसीति जगत्त्रयाणि यस्माद् भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यच्चक्षुरेश सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजः यस्याज्ञया भ्रमति संभृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। धर्मोतपापनिचयः श्रुतयस्तपांसि ब्रह्मादिकीटपतगावदयश्च जीवः यद्दत्तमात्रविभवप्रकटप्रभावा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्त्विन्द्रगोपमथवेन्द्रमहोस्वकर्मा बन्धानुरूपफलभाजनमातनोति कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाजम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यं क्रोधकामसहजप्रणयाधिभीति वात्सल्यमोहगुरुगौरवसेव्यभावैः सञ्चिन्त्य तस्य सदृशीं तनुमापुरेते गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। श्रेयः कान्तः कान्ता परमपुरुषः कल्पतरवो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणिगणमयी तोयममृतम् कथागानं नाट्यं गमनमपि वंशी प्रियसखी चिदानन्दं ज्योतिः परमपि तदास्वाद्यमपि च स यत्र क्षीराब्धि सवति सुरभिभ्यश्च सुमहान् निमेषाराध्याख्यो वा व्रजति न हि यत्रापि समयः भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहं इह गोलोकमिति यं विदन्तस्ते सन्तः क्षितिविरलाचारा कतिपये। अथो वाचा महाविष्णुर्भगवन्तं प्रजापतिं ब्रह्मन्महत्तत्त्वविज्ञाने प्रजासर्गे च चेन्मतिः पञ्चश्लोकीम् इमां विद्यां वत्सदत्तं निबोध मे प्रबुद्धे ज्ञानभक्तिभ्याम् आत्मन्यानन्दचिन्मयी उद्येतनुत्तमा भक्तिर्भगवत्प्रेमलक्षणा प्रमाणैस्तत्सदाचारैस्तदभ्यासैर्निरन्तरम् बोधयन् आत्मनात्मानां भक्तिमप्युत्तमां लभेत् यस्याः श्रेयस्करं नास्ति यया निवृत्तिमाप्नुयात् या साधयति मामेवा भक्तिं तामेव साधयेत् धर्मामन्यान् परित्यज्य मामेकं भज विश्वसान् यदृशी श्रद्धा श्रद्धिर्भवति तदृशी कुर्वन्निरन्तरं कर्म लोकोऽयम् अनुवर्तते तेनैव कर्मणा ध्यायान् मां परां भक्तिमिच्छति अहं हि विश्वस्य चराचरस्य बीजं प्रधानं प्रकृतिं पुमांश्च मायाहितं तेजमिदं बिभर्षि विदेहि त्वमथो जगन्ति ईश्वरा परमः कृष्णा सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहा अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दा सर्वकारणकारणम्
इति श्री ब्रह्म संहित संपूर्णं हरि ओम्।
So today is also the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So before the Bhagavatam class, we'll read a little bit about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now we'll have the bhajan, Udila Arana. Okay. Or can we have it like a different bhajan, Vibhavari Shesha, whatever you want to. Yeah, let's keep up with the same tradition. I don't want to break it. It's okay. Udila Arana will go. Which is on page 38. So, okay, let's start. Udilayaruna purabhavage Dvijamani goramani jage Udilayaruna purabhavage Dvijamani Gaura Amani Jage Bhakata Samuha Loya Sathe Gelo Nagara Braje Tatai tatai bajalakho Ghana ghana tahe jhajeraro Preme dhala dhala shonaranga Charane nupur baje Mukunda Madhava Yadhava Hari Bole na bolo re bhajana bori Miche nidavashe gelo re rati divasa sharira saje Imana durlabha manavadeha Paihi karo bhavana keho Ebena bajile yashoda suta Charame podi belaje Udita tapana hoile asta Dina gelo boli hoibe vyasta তবে কেন এবে আলস্য হয়, না ভাজ হৃদয় রাজে। জীবনা নিত্যা জনঃ সার, তাহে নানাবিধ বিপদ ভার। নামাশ্রয়া করি যতনে তুমি, তাকাহ আপন কাজে। জীবের কল্যাণ সাধন কাম, জগতে আসিয়ে মধুর নাম। अविद्यतिमिरा तपन रूपे वेद गगन विराजे। कृष्ण नाम सुधा करिया पान, जुड़ाओ भक्ति विनोद प्राण। नाम बिना किछु नहीं कोयारो, 14 भुवन मागे। जीव जागो जीव जागो, गोरा चंद बोले। कोटा निद्रा जाओ माया, पिशाची रखोले। बजे बोलिया ऐसे संसार भीतरे, 40 भूलिया रोहिले तुम्ही अविद्यार भारे। भूलिया रोहिले तुम्ही अविद्यार भारे। तुम्हारे लइते आमी হইনু অবতারা। আমি বিনা বন্ধু यारा, কে আছে তোমারা। এনেছি ঔষধি মায়া, নশিবার লাগি। এনেছি ঔষধি মায়া, নশিবার লাগি। Hari Nama Maha Mantra Lao Tumi Magi Bhakati Vinoda Prabhu Charane Poriya Shei Hari Nama Mantra Loi Lo Magiya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Hare Krishna. So we'll read the translation for this particular verse, and then we can read 3 each, going through on page 38 for the first part of this, or no, the part 38. First verse. When a tinge of red on the eastern horizon heralded the sunrise, the jewel of the twice-born Lord Gaurasundar immediately awakened. Taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, visiting the towns and villages of Nadia. The mridangas resounded, Tathai, Tathai. The cymbals chimed in time, and Lord Gauranga's footbells jingled as his golden form trembled slightly in the ecstatic love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya called out to the townsfolk, "You have spent your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Now just fill your mouth with the vibration of the holy names, Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, Hari, chanting without offense. Next three.
You have achieved the rare human body. Don't you care for this gift? If you do not serve the darling of Yashoda now, great sorrow awaits you at death. Each time the sun rises and sets, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and refuse to serve the Lord of the heart? Understand this essential fact. Life is temporary and full of all kinds of miseries. So make it your only business to take shelter of the holy name and always engage in his service.
Desiring to bless all souls, the sweet name of Krishna has descended to the material world and now shines like the sun in the sky of the heart, destroying the darkness of ignorance. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna and thus satisfy the soul of Bhakti Vinoda. There is nothing but the holy name within all the 14 words. Lord Gauranga is calling, "Wake up, sleeping souls, wake up, sleeping souls. We have slept so long on the lap of the witch Maya."
Charlie.
You came into this world of birth and death, saying, "My Lord, I will certainly worship you." But you have forgotten this promise and remained in great ignorance. I have descended just to save you, except for me who is your friend. I have brought the medicine to eradicate the disease of illusion. Now pray for this Harinam, Mahamantra, and take it.
Go ahead, last one. Go ahead. You can do the last one.
Bhaktivinoda fell at the lotus feet of Lord Gauranga, and after begging for the holy name, he received that Mahamantra.
Wonderful. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. So today is a special day because it's the disappearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we'll read a little bit about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and then we'll go ahead with the Bhagavatam class. Is that okay? So the life of Bhakti Siddhanta is there in this book, Brahma Samhita. We can read here. It's on page, about the author, it's on page, let's look it up. It's on page 117. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was born in the holy pilgrimage place of Jagannath Puri to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Krishna conscious spiritual master in the line of succession coming from Lord Chaitanya. Although employed as a government magistrate, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur worked tirelessly to establish the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in India, where unfortunately the people had come to neglect the principles of devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. He envisioned a worldwide Krishna conscious movement and prayed to the Lord for a son to help him achieve his dream. On February 6, 1874, in the sacred pilgrimage town of Jagannath Puri, where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur served as superintendent of the famous Jagannath temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared in this world. He was given the name Bimala Prasad. At the age of 7, Bimala Prasad had memorized more than 700 Sanskrit verses of Bhagavad Gita and could speak illuminating commentaries upon them. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the author of many important books and other writings on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, trained his son in printing and proofreading. By the time he was 25 years old, Bimala Prasad had acquired an impressive reputation as a scholar of Sanskrit, mathematics and astronomy. His astronomical treatise, Surya Siddhanta, won him the title Siddhanta Saraswati in recognition of his immense learning. In 1905, following the advice of his father, Siddhanta Saraswati accepted the spiritual initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Although Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was renowned as a saintly person and as a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he was illiterate. Satisfied with the humility and dedication of his highly educated disciple, Srila Gaurakishore gave him his full blessings and requested him to preach the absolute truth and keep aside all other work. Siddhanta Saraswati then proved himself a capable assistant in the missionary work of his father. Upon the death of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1914, Siddhanta Saraswati became editor of his father's journal, Sajjana Toshani, and founded the Bhagavad Press for publication of Krishna conscious literature. Then in 1918, Siddhanta Saraswati accepted the renounced order of life, assuming the title Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. For the purpose of propagating Krishna consciousness throughout India, he organized the Gaudiya Mutt with 64 branches throughout the country. The headquarters of his mission, the Chaitanya Gaudiya Mutt, was located in Sridham, Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. He would later send his disciples to Europe for missionary work. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta adjusted the traditions of Krishna consciousness to conform with technological and social conditions of 20th century. He considered the printing press the most effective means of spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world and was himself the author of many important translations, commentaries, and philosophical essays. He was the first spiritual master to allow his renounced preachers, sannyasi, to wear Western clothes and travel in modern conveyances rather than on foot. In 1922, an intelligent young college student named Abhay Charande happened to visit Srila Bhakti Siddhanta at the Gaudiya Mutt Center in Calcutta. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta immediately advised the young man that he should preach the message of Krishna consciousness to the Western world and in the English language. Although not able to immediately carry out Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's desire, Abhay became an active supporter of the Gaudiya Mutt. In 1933, Abhay formally became the disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, who gave him the name Abhay Charanaravinda. Through the 1930s, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta expanded and increased his missionary work and succeeded in re-establishing Krishna consciousness as the leading force in Indian spiritual life. Anxious that his work continue, he urged his disciples to form a joint governing body commission to manage the Gaudiya Mutt in his absence. On January 1st, 1937, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati passed away from this world. So His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a pioneer in Krishna consciousness. And at the age, especially in India, where people had this attitude, I know all, and who were deeply entrenched in their own traditions, rather than any solid spiritual advancement, Bhakti Siddhanta had a formidable task on his hands to establish Krishna consciousness. It was not easy to fight against these particular notions that were set in society at that time. And still, with determination, he established the 64 branches of Gaudiya Mutt, and he trained his disciples to spread this movement all over the world. Actually, that was his desire, that it be spread everywhere. The original idea for this particular concept that Krishna consciousness should be spread all over the world was from Mahaprabhu himself, who said that, in every town and village, my name will be chanted. He predicted when he was here conducting his earthly pastimes. He predicted that, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur had this desire that Krishna consciousness be taken or be spread far beyond the borders of India. And he sent a book to McGill University in Canada, which was titled The Life and Teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati took that a step further. He trained his disciples, his sannyasi disciples, to go to Europe and start preaching this mission. And he adjusted the Krishna consciousness tenets to fully be in tune with Mahaprabhu. Because in those days, like if you cross the ocean, then you're no longer a sannyasi. It was that was a strict thing. If you had taken a renounced order of life, you had to be within India. If you go outside of India, you lose your sannyas. But in any case, he adjusted a lot of these things for the preaching activity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And on this day, we remember this exalted spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, who was a pioneer. And later Srila Prabhupada would say many times that it is because he gives credit to his spiritual master wherever he says that I have not done anything substantial. It is just I have been trying to follow the order of my spiritual master. That has kind of empowered me to do this impossible task. I think in spiritual life, it is just one's fidelity. One may not be able to immediately execute the orders of spiritual master, but if one takes that as the life and soul of our spiritual life, then it becomes much easier to advance. Because on the strength of spiritual master, we get the mercy. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ordered Srila Prabhupada to preach in the Western countries, he took it as his life and soul and he came here. So indirectly, we can be thankful and be eternally grateful to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for giving this order, inspired by Mahaprabhu, that we have this Krishna consciousness movement. And so on this day we remember this great pioneer and our spiritual preceptor and beg from him the strength that may our own spiritual life become strong and we never aspire to give up devotional service in favor of anything that can be obtainable. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, any questions, comments? So we'll go on with the next part of the program. We'll just get the Bhagavatam. I'll just get the first canto, please. It's the first book. How is everybody doing? Good. Thank you, Prabhu. So today's lecture or today's class is titled Satisfaction of the Soul. And the Bhagavatam especially aims at this particular aspect, which is the satisfaction of soul. We base our class today on this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is from the first canto, second chapter, and sixth verse. I'm sorry that you don't have it in front of you, but you can repeat after me. The verse is pretty not technically difficult to go, but we'll just read that. Kindly repeat after me. But before that, let's do the invocation, which is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kindly repeat after me. Sa vai pumsam paro dharmo savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati yayatma suprasidati. Okay, let's read. So that after that, everybody has to repeat. So no. Oh, okay, there are more copies. Yeah. Okay. First canto, second chapter, 6th verse. But okay, so you can pull it up and you can look it up on the screen. Vedabase.com. Yeah. Right. Wonderful. First canto. Yeah. Second chapter, 6th verse. It's right there. So, no, actually go back. Let's read the Sanskrit first. Okay, just keep the Sanskrit for now, Prabhu. So kindly repeat. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Anybody wants to repeat or chant?
Savai pumsam paro dharmo
Savai pumsam paro dharmo
yato bhaktir adhokshaje
yato bhaktir adhokshaje
ahaituki apratihata
ahaituki apratihata
yayatma suprasidati
yayatma suprasidati.
Repeat. Savai pumsam paro dharmo
Savai pumsam paro dharmo
yato bhaktir adhokshaje
yato bhaktir adhokshaje
ahaituki apratihata
ahaituki apratihata
yayatma suprasidati.
yayatma suprasidati.
Savai punsam paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhaktir adokshaje.
Yato bhaktir adhokshaje.
Ahaituki apratihata.
Ahaituki apratihata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati. Anybody else wants to repeat?
Savai pumsham paro dharmo.
Savai pumsam paro dharmo.
Yato bhakti radhoksaje.
Yato bhaktir adhokshaje.
Ahaituki apratihata.
Ahaituki apratihata.
Yayatma suprasidati.
Yayatma suprasidati. Kindly repeat after me. Saha, that. Why? Certainly. Pumsam, for mankind. Paraha, sublime. Dharma, occupation. Yataha, by which. Bhaktihi, devotional service. Adhokshaje, on to the transcendence. Ahaituki, causeless. Apratihata, unbroken. Yaya, by which. Atma, the self. Suprasidati, completely satisfied. Translation, please repeat after me. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service on to the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In this statement, Sri Sutta Goswami asks the first question of the sages of Naimisharanya. The sages asked him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that the fallen people or people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called the Pravritti Marg, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called the Nivritti Marg, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a deceased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence or Brahmabhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. There is just the futile attempt to get rid of the miseries, and temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior. But devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which leads one to eternal, blissful, and all-cognizant life, is called superior quality of occupation. This is sometimes polluted when mixed with inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. Renunciation or abnegation for ultimate good is certainly better occupation than enjoyment in the deceased condition of life. Such enjoyment only aggravates the symptoms of disease and increases its duration. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, that is, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should, therefore, accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive action, and philosophical speculation. This alone can lead one to perpetual solace in his service. We have purposely denoted dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. A living being's sustenance of existence is to coordinate his activities with his eternal relationship with Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is the central pivot of all living beings, and he is the all-attractive living entity or eternal form amongst all other living beings or eternal forms. Each and every living being has his eternal form in the spiritual existence, and Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. Krishna is the complete whole, and everything else is his part and parcel. The relation is one of the servant and the served. It is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in the present conditional state of material existence. That will gradually give one the clue to actual life and please him to complete satisfaction. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamcha Kalpa Tarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satphala Sarva Siddhanta Rajnadhya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvando Tayaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. Madeka Bandho Matsangin Manguro Manmahadhana Mannishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute. Asadhu Sadhutadain Atini Chochataraka Anamum Cha Kadachinmam Premna Hrit Kantayos Pura. Tvamadidevam Karunam Nidhanam Tamalavarnam Suhitavataram Apara Samsara Samudra Setum Bhajamahe Bhagavata Swarupam. Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajeshatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Brajavaduvargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matadam Tatradarana. Hare Krishna. So, the topic of today's class was satisfaction of the soul. And this verse, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adhokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati, aptly summarizes what is that gives satisfaction to the soul. In this title there are two words, which is first is called the satisfaction and the second is called the soul. So let's first discuss the soul and then we'll talk of the satisfaction of the soul. The living entities or the jivatmas in this material world, they have this conditioned material body and they have been put in that situation since time immemorial. Every living entity in this material world is struggling hard for material existence. Even though against the desires of the living entity still has to work hard in this material world to maintain himself or herself. It doesn't matter in which body you are. You may be in the body of an ant or you may be in the body of Lord Brahma. That struggle for material existence is a given when the living entity is situated in this material world. But please understand that the jiva had nothing to do with this material world. The soul has nothing to do with this material world. The soul is part and parcel of Krishna, but somehow or other we have come into this material world. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubayaro drishtantas tvayano tat darshibihi. He says in the second chapter that the seers have concluded of the eternal, which is the soul, there is no question of destruction. And of the body, which the soul has inherited, there is no question of eternality or of the body living forever in this material world. It is just people have this fantastic or illusory aspiration that somehow if I can adjust material stuff, then I can live forever in this body. But Krishna clearly and categorically states that this body is not to be. Because the soul which is inhabiting this body is eternal and is distinct from this body. When the term spiritual realization comes, it means the soul has properly identified his or her position as an eternal being, not as this body. In the conditioned world, what happens is that somehow or other, this strong, deep-rooted identification that I am this body is the cause of all troubles. Srila Prabhupada writes also in this purport which we discussed that the material existence is actually a diseased condition for the soul, which means to say, as much as if you see a patient who is in the hospital, is that the natural condition of that person? No. There is some disease that he has, and he has been put into a medical facility to be treated. Similarly, the soul has been put into this material world, and it is not the natural condition of the soul. So there is no question of being happy in this world or satisfaction in this world. So people, when they talk of satisfaction of soul, we should inquire, since the soul is not of this world, then the satisfaction of the soul cannot be from this world. Srila Prabhupada also writes in the purport, there are two paths. One is called the path of pravritti, which is the material enjoyment, and nivritti, which is the path of renunciation or moving away from spiritual enjoyment. Now people sometimes say, you guys are just killing yourself by not enjoying life like us. But the point is, the enjoyment of life in the material platform is not going to get complete happiness. Forget the happiness of the soul. Even in the material world also we see that people who are very ferociously and very hard trying to be happy or trying to enjoy this material world, it cannot. You can get happiness from the situation for a certain time, and then you get really bored of it, or you start seeking happiness elsewhere. So under the spell of illusion, the mind makes so many ideas to be happy, but that is just happiness on the material platform. You can never get it. Because this is the matter, this is the soul, and we are tied in together very strongly. The whole idea of spiritual purpose is to kind of at least get separated from this concept that I am not this material world or I am not this body. So unless one comes to that point, one can never even begin to fathom what is the happiness of soul. Now, please understand that there are many paths which kind of help the soul come to this particular platform. There is the broad platform is called yoga. Yoga in essence means to connect the soul to a higher cause. Yoga in Sanskrit means to add up, to connect, to join. So there are so many ways in which the soul can rise himself beyond the material nature. Now, to do that, the yogas are like, there is karma yoga, there is jnana yoga, there is dhyana yoga, there is bhakti yoga. There are so many forms of yoga that can help the spirit soul to overcome this identification that I am not this body. One may say, well, you just told us we are not this body. So I know, right? Then why do I have to really struggle on any form of yoga or even I take up anything? The answer to that is that by theoretical understanding, one cannot actually experience. For example, a person who wants to be a doctoral candidate or who wants to pass his PhD has to go through a university, not just an aspiration or knowing that I want to be that won't help. So similarly, yoga process is actually meant to elevate the soul from this bodily concept or from this material platform. And while the soul is struggling in this material platform, the soul has to perform certain occupation. Now Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, the dharma as occupation. It may seem a little counterintuitive, because dharma actually means a faith, a religion, or some sort of system I believe in. That technically means dharma. What's your dharma? I'm a Hindu. Or what's your dharma? I'm a Muslim. What's your dharma? Well, I'm a CEO. What's your dharma? I'm a politician. The point here is, Srila Prabhupada says the root of Sanskrit word dharma means that which sustains. So what sustains this material, the soul in the material world, is you say it's my occupation. I go and do my job, I can pay my bills, I can maintain myself. That is true. But as we said earlier, there is the material body and there is a soul, and we are tied in together. So when we go on this path, we have to do both the things, the matter and the spirit. So the material thing you have to do is to take care of your occupation and stuff like that. But at the same time, there are certain spiritual practices that are needed to go along. And eventually, when you give up this concept that I am the matter, there is only the spiritual path that goes along. But if we haven't reached that path, then we have to do both. So our sustenance in this material world as a conditioned spirit soul happens on both the platforms. On the material platform, that you have to take care of your body, and then at the same time you have to take care of your spirit soul. The path of pravritti marg or sense enjoyment means I neglect my spiritual aspect. Not a big deal. Who knows? If I die, maybe I take another body, maybe not. Why worry about it? I got this one life. Let me enjoy it to the maximum possible thing. Unfortunately, Krishna says that's not the case. You are going to take many, many bodies, one after another. And this is not your last body. It's a guaranteed fact. We can discuss on that point because we can discuss on that point even based on logic. But let's take it as a fact that we are going to get another body. Karma. Because people are, if you don't have this concept of soul, you cannot tie all these concepts, karma. What goes around comes around. I didn't do anything bad in this world, why is it coming around to me? Maybe you did it in your previous life. Unless there is that concept of soul, you can't tie in of these why things are happening. He was such a nice person. He didn't do anything harm in this world, but so much of bad is happening. There is no God. See, if you tie up the soul, then you realize that that person has been living through so many lives, innumerable number of life, trillions and trillions of life. And not necessarily whatever acts you do in this life, you get karma or justice for this, you can get it in the next life. In Nectar of Devotion, we see how the sin fructifies. It has its own stage of fructification. People might think, that person is cheating and he is ethically challenged and he is like breaking all ethics and he is making money. Probably I should do that too. There is no ethics. Trust me, there are ethics. There is a whole system that is set in place that is kind of taking care of it. You may not get it in this life, but you may get it in the next life. So the thing is, if you have this concept of soul, then so many things fall into place and your morality remains strong. Morality on a material platform is not going to sustain. At least not in this age of Kali Yuga, where you see so much of vices, so much of corruption, so much of greed, so much of people bending the rules and getting away with it. And you will be tempted, maybe I can do it and get away. But if you have this soul in place, the Atma or the concept of Atma in place, thinking I am not this body, and whatever reactions, I may not get it now, but I will get it in future. If you have that sense, it's not fear, but it's a sense of strong identity, then that morality is taken care of. Without proper spiritual life, there is no just morality you can just... Because that morality platforms keep changing. What is moral, what was immoral 100 years ago is perfectly acceptable now. We not get into these issues, but you read the newspaper, 100 years ago that was completely immoral to do. A simple thing is alcohol. 100 years ago the alcohol was banned in this country. It's immoral. Now it's perfectly normal. And there are many things that are kind of... So you see that morality changes, keeps on changing. But then the question might ask is like, who decides morality? Krishna who decides. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. That dharma or the rules of dharma are already ordained by Krishna. And nobody can change it. So when the dharma or that platform comes from our understanding of scriptures, those rules come from scripture, then they are bona fide. And the soul feels, yes, maybe there is a higher purpose. Maybe there is a sense of happiness that will lift me from this gloom and doom that is this material world. So at least that awakening is what the spiritual life beginning all about. But please understand, just by awakening to the fact I am a spirit soul won't give complete satisfaction. The Bhagavatam says, no sir, there is far more beyond. In Nectar of Devotion, we see that there are three kinds of happiness Rupa Goswami mentions. One is happiness from sense gratification. Other is the happiness that from that realization and being situated on the platform, I am spirit soul. The third happiness is happiness coming from pure, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. Now, we discussed at length about the first type of happiness or the satisfaction, which is happiness from sense gratification. We understand that it's not going to sustain. We can also experience it ourselves. For example, Prashant Prabhu, what's your favorite food item? You can give some fictitious. I don't want lemon rice. So his wife, because her husband loves lemon rice, he gives him lemon rice in the morning, and Prashant says, "Yes, I like it. I want to eat it." Afternoon, it's lemon rice. Evening also, it's lemon rice. My husband likes it, right? So evening also, it's lemon rice. And if it goes on for a few days, he'll start hating lemon rice. And that is true for everything. Everything you take. It's the soul, when it comes in contact with matter, there is only a certain amount of happiness, limited happiness for that time. But when you identify with the body, you think, yes, that's all I want. But when you identify with the spirit soul, he says, this is nothing. I just need more happiness. The happiness which I am capable of as a spirit soul is much higher than this. So, we understand that the material, we won't get so much of happiness, the soul won't get it. But having said that, we should have the right amount of sense, you can say gratification to maintain ourselves. You can't completely keep yourself pulling away from everything, saying that it is material and I should just hold back my senses and mind from, because this is matter, I don't want it. Eventually that pulling back will help, but the mind is so powerful, it will push you back again. And it will go double into the material sense enjoyment than what you were trying to pull back from. So this process of pulling back or restraining from sense enjoyment is the process of yoga. And the yogis have tried since time immemorial to do this. Control mind, control senses, control breathe, rest exercises. And they did get some happiness. And Krishna says in the 6th chapter of Gita that there is a certain level of happiness there. If I can get one copy of Bhagavad Gita, I'll quickly read that level of happiness. Thank you, Prashant Prabhu. So in the 6th chapter, Krishna says after doing all this yoga, the karma yoga, jnana yoga and dhyana yoga, you will reach a stage of happiness. And that happiness, Krishna says, is pretty substantial actually. It's far beyond what we are trying to get from material enjoyment. 6th chapter, 20th verse. I'll get that. Thank you. I'm reading from Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 20th verse. In that stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by pure mind and to relish and rejoice in self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks that there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Now, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that material world, even though we strive for happiness through sense gratification, actually it's very limited and it's a place of misery. And when there is no misery, then one thinks one is happy. As long as I am not deceased, I have not lost my job, my spouse, whatever you want to say in the last category, my health, then I am happy. But when these come, then usually they come about and the lack of that particular misery is called happiness in this world. But here in this verse, Krishna says that the yogi achieves a far higher level of happiness through the practice of yoga. Seems good. Should we stop here as far as the satisfaction of soul concerns, or do you think there is more? There is more. Natalie says there is more. Then we should definitely investigate how there is more. So, yes, please.
So, like you said, like, Prabhu, like the soul and the matter is kind of entangled here,
Right.
right? And then, like, in a very practical, like, you have this dichotomy, right? Like, you hear that, we really should be focusing or concentrating on the spiritual side of things.
Right.
Right, but then in your day-to-day life or in your like work life, for example, like you, like a very example, like you want to progress, like you want to work hard, you want to like get raised, get promotion, or in your work field and all, right? Which in one sense, like when you hear about this, you feel that no, it's really a material thing. You shouldn't be aspiring for that, and like you shouldn't be focusing or spending your time trying to think or going that. But then in one sense, again, it happens that you feel that, sometimes you feel that, no, because you have a family, it's also your duty. It's part of your duty to kind of, it's just not because of your sense enjoyment or material happiness you want to do this. It's also a requirement. It's kind of to raise your family, for your kids, you need that. So how do you, like for a person, like how do you kind of balance this thing that, okay, this is also needed, but at the same time, you get confused, right? Whether it is material or is it spiritual or like,
Thank you for the very nice question. There are a few ways to look at it. The one way to look at it is that the fruits from your work, or the increasing desires from fruits from your work, when you use that to maintain your family and your home, where you have a temple at home and there are devotional activities going on, so that aspiration doesn't become material but spiritual. It is not what you aspire for, but in what consciousness you aspire for. Srila Prabhupada, when he started this movement, he said, I should make a lot of money. Because if I make a lot of money, then I can help this movement. Otherwise, how will this movement grow if there is no money? So, while that aspiration of Srila Prabhupada might have been material to some people, but actually there was a spiritual motive involved behind that material aspiration. So, it depends on whether I just want it for my own gratification or for my security versus I need it to maintain my family. If you are a person who's living in a different circumstance in a different country, if they hear how much money you are making, they'll be astounded. They'll say this person is greedy, or this person is too needing. But if you are in the Bay Area and you see how much of money is needed just to maintain that, then it's right from your perspective. So the idea is that when you aspire for a spiritual purpose, then it's okay. Because you need money to maintain your family. But if you are aspiring it purely from a sense that I need it for my enjoyment or for my egoistic gratification, then essentially what happens is it's not okay. You can aspire for that. When you tie in your security and happiness from your work and the fruits from your work, then you are setting it up for failure, because if you don't get it, then you are miserable. But when your focus is on spiritual life, irrespective of what you get from work, then you are happy. Because those results might or might not come. You should work hard, please understand. Krishna spoke the entire Bhagavad Gita. The beauty was that he even foretold Arjuna, you will win this battle. He showed in his universal form how Krishna was destroying all the enemies of Arjuna. He told everything, and Arjuna had said, all right, I'm going to take a break now. I have seen the future. I'm going to win. Let me go ahead and enjoy with Here Arjuna had a lot of wives. He said, I could have gone and enjoyed with my wives, and Krishna, you take care of it. But every day he fought with double the intensity. Now, you might say, well, Arjuna had an advantage. He knew that he would win and he fought. No, that was not the reason Arjuna fought. He knew he wanted to please Krishna. And he fought. So the purpose is you work hard. You have material aspirations, let there be. Don't suppress them. But don't be depressed if you don't get them because they are not in your control. Your sense of security comes from the fact that you are engaged in devotional life. Your happiness comes from that. Rest, whatever comes, let it come. If it doesn't come too. So your sense of being comes from you identifying yourself as a servant of Krishna rather than your promotions or your raises at work. So there is that harmony. If that harmony is not there, then you see, because I am serving Krishna, I shouldn't aspire for it and he is making me poor. And then I should stop this. People have done that. I have become a devotee, some miserable thing happened. Krishna is, somehow a tricky person to be taken care of. No. So if there is this harmony that we have in place, then everything will be easy. If you get stuff, fine. Don't get stuff, fine. Because my identity doesn't come from there. Please understand, even people who get it, they are not happy. Because they are not in devotional service. They have no contact with spiritual life. Even though they may get, they are in constant anxiety. Yes? You have seen managers who got promotions, who became more stressed out. They started, did I really do the right thing by getting promoted to a manager? I have to take so much responsibilities and it was not what I asked for. Or some people say, I'm losing touch with technical stuff. This is not I signed up for. So you realize that your idea of happiness in the material world, when you actually get it, was not what you wanted. Or the soul is not satisfied. So, long-winded answer, does it a little bit answer your question? Your sense of identity comes from your devotional service, but you aspire also for material life. And if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. You are not disturbed. Same way, your family also, you will do the best to take care of them. You do your best to provide for them, but ultimately it is Krishna who is providing. And if you have that vision, you are not disturbed. Neither will you become lazy. That is another thing. Spiritual life means somehow God will take care. I am done. I don't have to work. No, sir, you have to work. That's showed by Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But it is that enthusiasm to work doesn't come from the platform of ego, but comes from the platform that Krishna is taking care of me. I'll do my best. I don't have to worry so much. And the most important, Prabhu, I didn't get your name. Ballav. So, Ballav Prabhu, the other thing is, you will see that your standing is strong. Your strength comes from spiritual life, and the material life doesn't disturb you. But if you are on your own in the material world, then you are really disturbed by all the happenings, thinking I am the doer and I am the controller. Somehow I have done it, it's not happening. When you are in Krishna consciousness, you will realize, I'll do my best. If it happens, happens. It doesn't happen. Not responsible. So that sense of being, it will propel you in spiritual life even if materially it doesn't happen. But even in the beauty of spiritual life is such, you might say, okay, I haven't come to that stage of maturity wherein I should balance both, and somehow I jumped into more of spiritual life, neglecting my material life. What of that? Is that a reasonable objection? Krishna says, even if you have done that, still there is nothing to be lamenting about. Because you gave all to your spiritual life, sometimes neglecting your material life, you may still fall down. You gave up family, I'll neglect everything, I'll job, I neglect everything, I'll just jump into spiritual life, and after some time you realize, things are falling apart, I have to go back, catch up there and make sure my family thing is, and then you'll say, no, it's Krishna, because of you I just gave up, I'll just go back, forget it for some time. And then Krishna says, even that jump you have taken to him, that is going to be there forever, even if you come back to your materialistic life. Eventually you will come back again here. So there is no harm. So taking up to spiritual life. But having said that, it's always good to balance, because you have this material life and the spiritual life, and you have to keep on walking in both the platforms. Sometimes even if you go more here, it's still okay, versus giving this up and trying to completely be materialistic. So you won't find happiness there. The jiva is trapped in this material world. Makes sense? A little bit gives an answer. Yeah. So one cannot artificially suppress your desires, but at the same time one cannot think that by giving up Krishna I'll be happy. That's impossible. So having a right balance will really help. Yes.
Prabhu, you were mentioning that the jiva is trapped within his body, and there are so many ways you keep changing your body within the material world. So my question is so when you are liberated, then you are in Goloka or spiritual world. What kind of people use this word? You get a transcendental body, right? So is there some number of types of transcendental body? Is it what is the body you get that there?
So we read in the Brahma Samhita here. I think yad bhava bhavita dyo manujastataiva. That's 2 verses actually they give. One thing is yad bhava bhavita dyo manujastataiva. That's this page. No, actually, let's go to Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja. It's last before we start the Shri Akanta, 56, I believe. That's on page 100. Easy to remember. Let's read the translation on page 100. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him, under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to the bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation. So, in our pure spiritual existence, one has a certain type of rasa or mellow with Krishna. So, when we have that particular deep desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, then we get the bodily forms based on that particular service to Krishna. For example, in Golok Vrindavan, Mother Yashoda, she got a body which was befitting her service as mother of Krishna, whereas the gopis got their body as befitting as lovers of Krishna. The young cowherd boys, they got their forms befitting that form of Krishna where they exchange friendship. So based on one's eternal position of servitorship with Krishna, one gets that particular body. But having said that, this is a little advanced topic in spiritual life. One cannot artificially meditate on that form because we do not know what that form is right now. And as we perform our meditation or our service in sadhana form, where one follows the rules and regulations, then one comes to the stage wherein one spontaneously is attracted to Krishna in a particular form. In Nectar of Devotion, we are reading in Bhakti Shastri course of how there is the sadhana has 2 forms, which is Vaidhi and Raganuga. In the Vaidhi, one follows the rules and regulations, and one doesn't really meditate on what is my position in Golok Vrindavan. But when one attains perfection in following rules and regulations, then one comes to Raganuga. So, and in that stage, one automatically and naturally thinks Krishna as a particular thing. And in that, when we progress, then we get that forms, based on how we think. The demons like Kamsa and Putana, they also were killed by Krishna and they were liberated. But they got forms, they didn't get directly the servitorship of Krishna. They were merged into the Brahman effulgence of Krishna. Because it is said, who under the sway of wrath. Here we read this verse. Under the sway of wrath means the anger or hatred towards Krishna. So everybody here, I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, meditating upon him, under the sway of wrath. Wrath is like anger, because these demons expressed anger towards Krishna or hatred. So they got their forms befitting to their nature of contemplation. Krishna is perfect in giving everybody their perfect destinations based on their contemplation. Is that, Prabhu, a little bit answer your question? Yes, Prabhuji. Vallav Prabhu.
Many times we say that we are the parts and parcel of it. Parts, if we can understand, what is parcel mean?
Well, parts and parcels is more of an English usage wherein we just say that a parcel of land is a part of that whole land. right? Even though it may be, a part can mean sometimes that you created a part to join, but a part and parcel indicates that part was always a part of Krishna. It was naturally belonging to Krishna. It indicates more of a definitive relationship with Krishna. But having said that, I'm not an expert in English language to segregate. My generic understanding was part and parcel means that always belong to that particular piece. It was not like that's my understanding, but we can look it up more. So because it said in the Brahma Samhita, Sanityo Nitya Sambandha Prakritischa Parayavasa, that the living entity has an eternal kinship with the Lord. Where are we? Let's look it up, that verse. Sanityo Nitya Sambandha Prakritischa Parayavasa. That's on page 36. Translation on text 21. The same Jiva is eternal and is for eternity and without a beginning joined to the Supreme Lord by a tie of eternal kinship, his transcendental spiritual potency. Purport. Just as the sun is eternally associated with his rays, so the transcendental Supreme Lord is eternally joined by the Jivas. The Jivas are the infinitesimal particles of his spiritual effulgence and are, therefore, not perishable like mundane things. Jivas, being particles of Godhead's effulgent rays, exhibit on a minute scale the quality of the divinity. Hence, the Jivas are identical with the principles of knowledge, knower, egoism, enjoyer, meditator, and doer. Krishna is all-pervading, all-extending Supreme Lord, while Jivas have a different nature from his, being his atomic particles. That eternal relationship consists in this, that the Supreme Lord is the eternal master and Jivas are his eternal servants. Jivas have also sufficient eligibility in respect of the mellow quality of the divinity. Apareya mitasvanyam prakritim vidyame param. By this verse of the Gita, it is made known that the Jivas are his transcendental potency. All the qualities of the unalloyed soul are above the eightfold qualities such as egotism, etc., pertaining to his Achit potency. Hence, the Jiva potency, though very small in magnitude, is still superior to the Achit potency or Maya. This potency has another name, namely Tatashta or marginal potency, being located in the line demarcating the spheres of the spiritual and mundane potency. He is susceptible to influence of material energy owing to his small magnitude. But so long as he remains submissive to Krishna, the Lord of Maya, is not liable to be influenced of Maya. The worldly affliction, births and rebirths are concomitants of the fettered conditions of the soul fallen into these clutches of deluding potency from a time that has no beginning. So if you see, this is a very good topic to discuss. What is the relationship between Jiva and Krishna? Or what is the quality? What is the difference, and what is the relationship, and what is the oneness? Because Jiva is at the same time one with Krishna and at the same time different. Qualitatively he is one, but quantitatively he is different. So when we say part and parcel, so eternally Jiva has been connected to Krishna, but in this conditioned state of life, the Jiva is forgotten Krishna. This is the spiritual world, this is the material world, and the Jiva is here somewhere, marginal. Sometimes he is in the spiritual world, sometimes he is in the material world. As long as one is obedient to Krishna, he is in the spiritual world. Otherwise, you are in the material world. The Jiva is superior to the material energy, but because he is not subordinate, Krishna's material nature can overwhelm him and drag him down. The conditioned soul means dragged down in the material world. Liberated souls means in the spiritual world. So that's the only difference. Questions? So it ties into, we are not moving off the topic, it still ties into the fact how Jiva, we are talking of soul, so let's discuss about soul and where the soul is and then how the satisfaction of soul can come about. So in this verse, we stop at 10, right? I hope nobody is bored to the point like we think a root canal is much better than sitting in this class. Okay, as long as we don't have that, then we can keep continuing. So the satisfaction of soul, I discussed that there is a material satisfaction, then the satisfaction that comes from perfection in yoga, which we discussed from the verse in Bhagavad Gita. But higher than that is the satisfaction of serving Krishna. When the jiva realizes that Krishna is my master and I am his eternal servant, then when you engage in that perfect relationship, the happiness you get is millions and trillions of times than the happiness which we read from the verse in Bhagavad Gita. And please understand that when the mind gets attracted to Krishna, his beautiful form, his face, his garlands, his flute, his lotus feet, everything about Krishna is so like enchanting. When the mind is attracted and is in that position, there is such intense happiness that happiness, it is mentioned again and again in pages of Bhagavatam. I don't want to give up that happiness for anything else. Forget material positions. Because please understand, it ties in Bala Prabhu your question, that there are these material aspirations, but when one engages, then this automatically, naturally go away. Not suppressingly they go away. Naturally they go away. To the point that your promotion at work doesn't seem as significant for your happiness as serving Krishna. But it's a natural process. Please understand that artificially when you try to suppress, they may be suppressed for some time, but they will come back strongly. So spiritual life means it's somehow balancing both, to the point where the material life completely falls apart. So in the spiritual life, when one engages in devotional service to Krishna, then in pure devotional service, there is devotional service and pure devotional service. Devotional service which is mixed with, for example, my bhakti is mixed with some jnana, or my bhakti is mixed with some karma. I have to get some things, and then I need to worship God. And He gives me some things, then should I worship or not worship? So that is mixed devotional service. Pure devotional service is that when you think that my only position is being a servant of Krishna, then that is the highest form of happiness. And it is said in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, ahaituki apratihata, which means that particular loving service to Krishna is causeless, means I don't have any motive, any ulterior motive in serving Krishna, and neither is there any interruption. It's going to take some time, but eventually that is a position of jiva, and we will get there by mercy of Mahaprabhu. There is one verse which kind of tells that happiness. See if we can find that verse in 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't think we have it here. In any case, I think that there are many places in Srimad Bhagavatam where it is mentioned that I do not want to be having the position of Brahma, or I do not want to be even liberated from this world if there is no devotional service to Krishna. So there is one point I wanted to make, but I forgot. Sorry about that. I don't remember right now. Any questions before I try to recollect, and then we can go ahead? So the satisfaction of soul comes from uninterrupted loving service to Krishna, bhakti. It's the supreme satisfaction.
So one thing, that comes to mind is, so the soul has to, get back to its original thing, which is to, serve the Lord. Which is all good, and then we see like a lot of verses in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam giving some, examples of highest devotees, who did that. But at the same time, every now and then Krishna throws a googly or a bouncer saying, one verse where it comes this Manusyanam Sahasra. It says, A lot of men try to get to me, but hardly anyone knows me in truth. This is one verse, and then second, and in Bhagavatam, right, we read some stories where it says Brahma, right, he's like considered to be really intelligent. He had hard time in understanding Krishna, right? So how do we, don't get demotivated by all this stuff? Because the thing is like, okay, how do we know that we are going to go back to Godhead, right? That is the ultimate thing, because it's a long journey, right? And this is all good, I come to temple, I do service like half an hour, I do my chanting, right? But until unless you really put the effort, try to understand Krishna, it's not going to happen, right? So how do we keep motivated? How do we stay focused? And
Wonderful question. Wonderful question. You're right that spiritual life is not an instantaneous success program kind of thing. That I will it, I get it. Please understand that when we establish in loving service to Krishna, it's a reciprocal process. Krishna should reciprocate that love. And Krishna has to reveal himself before one actually comes to that stage. And I'll add a few more verses to be on your side. Let's open the shloka book and see if we can find that verse. Nayam. I'll be on your side for some time and then we'll go other way around. Let's see. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo. Let's see if we can find that verse. That's on page 359. 359. It's in Katha Upanishad. Please repeat after me. It's a nice verse to repeat and meditate. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Namedaya na bahuna shrutena Yeme vaisha sivrinute tena labhyas Tasyaisha atma vivrinute tanum swam. The Supreme Lord is not attained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is attained only by one who he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. I just added to the list. So Krishna is not, even though one worships Krishna, unless he chooses, then you cannot obtain him. So, Prashant Prabhu, here is the thing. There are 6 effects of performing pure devotional service. In Nectar of Devotion, we hear that when you perform pure devotional service, there are 6 qualities or characteristics. What are those 6 qualities? The first quality is that Kleshagni. It is called Kleshagni, which means that all the material miseries of the world are destroyed. And the second quality of pure devotional service is Shubhada. Shubhada means it's all auspicious. The third quality of pure devotional service is, it is Moksha Lagutakrit, which means moksha or liberation seems not big. And the fourth quality is Sudurlabha. Sudurlabha means it's very difficult to attain. Again, I'll come back to you. And the fifth quality is, it produces an intense type of happiness. And happiness so concentrated and so intense that there is nothing compared to it. Which is called Chandrananda Visheshatma in Sanskrit. The last quality of pure devotional service is Sri Krishna Akarshani, means that there is no other way to attract Krishna except through pure devotional service or prema bhakti. Still didn't answer your question. You are still making it difficult. Let me complete. So the first two qualities, they come on the level of platform of sadhana. Just by performing pure sadhana bhakti, you get those two items, which is freedom from all miseries and it's all auspicious. So when we take up to devotional service, and even when we are on the sadhana, we see life is much better. Life is much less stressful than people who are suffering. People don't even know why they are suffering. At least my suffering is a little bit reduced. It's not completely gone, but you can feel it. It's tangible. So Krishna's bhakti is so pure and potent that even just beginning it will help a lot. It's all auspicious, and it gives relief from material miseries. To the extent one progresses, to that extent at least the material miseries are lost. Now, in the neophyte stage, one might think this is it. This is bhakti. I'm all auspicious, but then we push ahead. But at least that minimum faith you get, because this is a natural experience of those who come to Krishna consciousness. Immediately there's a lot of ecstasy. It's like, this is great, this is all beautiful. And that is coming just from the fact that I have chosen to perform pure devotional service, and Krishna is reciprocating by giving me strength, by reducing my material miseries. But after that, there is that taste, initial taste is what it propels, it moves ahead. And that has to be nourished through association of devotees and hearing and chanting. So if you do that, then guaranteed that it will go ahead. It's not easy, but those who actually stick to it no matter what, and that faith comes through the association of devotees, Krishna will surely reciprocate. That is his word in Gita. Now please understand the other thing. Krishna says, nothing will capture me as devotion. Krishna says that those who surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. Krishna's words are not like our words, or not like politicians' words, God forbid. Krishna, when he says, nothing can stop it. No power, no demigod, no force, nothing can break Krishna's promise. He makes a promise, it is going to happen. There is no question of excuse in Krishna's words or promises. So that words is what that we sustain our life. That Krishna has made this promise that Kaunteya pratijanehi name bhaktya pranashyati. He said to Arjuna, "O Arjuna, declare this boldly to the world that my devotee never perishes." And when he says those, what can actually stop? So that is the reason, that is another reason why we are told, first you read about Krishna's prowess, Krishna's powers. Everybody really wants to jump into like Rasika Bhav, Krishna's flute, this, that, in a premature fashion without knowing his powers. Therefore it is said in Bhagavatam, why are we waiting till 10th canto to read about Krishna's beautiful pastimes? Why not jump into right away? It was a logical justification. Why was Bhagavatam spoken? Maharaj Parikshit had exactly 7 days and 7 nights. And Sukdev Goswami could have jumped directly to give essence. 9 cantos before we come into Krishna's beautiful pastimes. Why? Because when we know the greatness of Krishna, then we become even more stronger. That though Krishna says that those who know my power, they will serve me. Dradavrata. I remember the words in Bhagavad Gita. But the idea is that if you know the powers of Krishna, then you become stronger in his devotional service. And then later comes his sweetness. So, just by hearing about Krishna, it nourishes your faith. And it makes your own faith stronger. And you realize, yes, Krishna, better be with Krishna because his words are not going to go in vain. He made a promise, he's going to keep it. Unless in a very extraordinary case, which we won't discuss right now. Because he says to the gopis, Naparahem nirvatya samujam. That's a very esoteric concept. He keeps that promise also, but please understand that no circumstance will impede Krishna from fulfilling his promise. And in the material world, there is no guarantee of anybody's promise being kept. It's just the nature of world. No, it's not saying against anybody. Everybody, even though people, your family members, they dearly love you and they want to see you happy, they can't do much for you because it's just the nature of world, nothing to against them. Your parents want to see you happy, your family members want to see you, so many people want to see you happy, but they can't fulfill. Only Krishna can fulfill that promise because he is the supreme controller. So this kind of faith nourishes. The other reason why there is difficulty, because we talked about the 6 pure characteristics of devotional service. One of them is Sudarlava, which means it's very difficult. Why is it difficult? The reason it is difficult is because Krishna can give things easily. If you approach him to give anything material or even liberation, spiritual, he'll give easily. But Prashant Prabhu, we should understand we are on the path of such a path that where we are not wanting for anything except Krishna himself. That supreme absolute truth, if you reach that stage of prema, he will give himself to you. And when he gives himself to you, it's a lot to ask from the Lord. And he chooses to whomever he wants to give, he will give. So if on the other paths, it seems easy because you are asking something material or spiritual from Krishna. Either you want some material benediction, which Krishna can give easily. Why don't you even bother Krishna for material benediction? Go to demigods. Much faster, guaranteed. Krishna himself says, people who want quick success, they worship demigods. But spiritually also, you want liberation? Take it right here. I can give you anything. But when you are on the path where we are, where Krishna says, I have to give myself to this devotee because this devotee is on the platform of love, then it's going to be much longer, but much sweeter at the end. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, it helps me understand the approach.
Right. Thank you. So we don't give up. Devotional service is not a bed of roses, but at the same time, one should understand the end is so extraordinarily sweet that even few chosen souls get that. And it may take many lifetimes or one lifetime. Again, because we are reciprocating with Krishna, Krishna has to reciprocate accordingly. Ramananda Prabhu is waiting, so we should hurry up a little bit. Any final question or comment?
Just have one comment that after this class is over, before the Guru Puja starts, we want to share a short 1-minute video.
Okay. We love watching videos. Yeah. Any final question or comment? So the satisfaction of soul comes from Krishna, because Krishna is the highest truth.
Just to compliment your thing, so the way it works, the way this, the way the loving thing works is like you get into one of those 6 rasas. That's the way.
Right. Thank you. Yep. Wonderful. All right, we'll stop here today. And I thank each and every one of you for coming to the class. And next we'll have Guru Puja. And before that we have a 1-minute video presentation. And then we'll take prasadam. Yeah, turn around. Yeah, we can also, we'll take the books and all that once we are done with the video. So.
Hare Krishna. I'm Vaisheshika Das. We're on a campaign to end spiritual poverty. People all over the world are suffering due to lack of knowledge. Now we have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we're placing it in motels, hotels, prisons, and hospitals all over the world. Now's your chance during this season of giving to sponsor Bhagavad Gitas we will place for you in all these institutions. Please click on the Give a Gita button on your screen or go to ISKCON Silicon Valley /campaign and contribute to this great campaign. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu ki jai. All right. Anything else, Ramananda Prabhu? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
This is mainly for the online audience.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Gaura Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Insignificant insects.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshvaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Radhi Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. E Jai Gosai Gauri Charan Vandana. Jaha hoite Vignana Shavista Purana. E Jai Gosai Jai Mohitara Das. Tasvar Padarenu Mora Panchagras. Tandera Charana Se Bhi Bhakta Sanebas. Janam में हो ये अभिलाष. E Jai Gosai Jabe Braja Koila Bas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lili Kora Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Braja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Padaiyamat. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Pada Koriyat. Nam Satyat Koro Hoye Norattamodas. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadvaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshvaya Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Gaura Premanande.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Damodar Prabhu, Dandot Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu, today is disappearance day of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Right.
And in case devotees want to get a Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhav, which is the autobiography, which is the biography of Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, that 3-set volume is available at ISP for $75.
For $55.
So if they want to get, I can pass it on to them.
Okay, Damodar Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the... Wonderful, yep. Thank you. Okay, we can do prasadam. Yeah. Sharira vidyaja jadendriya taheka jive phele vishaya sagore tar madhye jivayati lobo moy sudurmati ताके जेथा कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ोदायम करिबार हे जीव जाय स्वप्रसाद अन्न दिलो भाई से अन्नमृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेमे डाको श्री चैतन्य नीता प्रेमे डाको श्री चैतन्य नीता महाप्रसादे गोविंदे नमो ब्राह्मणे वैष्णवे स्वल्प पुण्याव्रतं राजन् विश्वासो नैव जायते प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिपर्यवतिष्ठते भगवत् श्री महाप्रसादम की जय. Please come take prasadam. Hare Krishna.